I'm going to do a series on painting fur by seeing blocks. How would I use this black and white image to plan a portrait? Well, first things first. This is about a 4x3 shape, so I want to use a 4x3 canvas. Now the first thing I'm looking for is, where does the dog go? I am looking at the outline. Now you'll notice I simplified all of those nice round organic shapes into straight lines, because straight lines are easy for the brain to understand. Got this big line here, coming from way up there to way down here. And we know that these two are in line. They're almost perfectly vertical. Got two ear tips. Box them in. That's about a third of the way across. I've probably got that a little too low. That's not quite a third. And then we got his hip coming out. I can use this shape to help me. Yeah, I've got a shape like that coming along right there. Look, those come from the same line abouts. Outline that in red so you can see it again. Now that these two match kind of sort of close enough, in this shape there are going to be areas of dark and light, and that's really what I want to be able to see. Looking for edges. So the edges I'm looking for, I'm not just following the outline of things like the nose and mouth. I'm following the outline of shadows. Where do the shadows go? Everything within the shapes that I just blocked off, some of it's super dark, some of it's not so dark, but it's darker than white. This is a grayscale. They're super useful. With this, I can see which grays are darker than others and start to work on these blocks a little more. There's also, I noticed, a little highlight in here. So let's copy that shape on here. Had a pencil pen. Full of background dark here. Get some contrast. I want my subject to show up really nicely, especially at the top against the background, so we're going to use a very dark background. Does it look like a dog yet? Not quite, but let's do some more blocks. Where are my next deepest shadows? All right, so now we've got the lightest shadows, the darkest shadows. All we need now is the mediumest shadows. Where do those go? And that's where Grayscale Finder might help again. There's about my light shadow. My medium shadow is all the way down here. And where does that become black? Out there. I'm using pencil for this, but this works for paint, this works for drawing. These are pretty universal values here. Pardon the pun, since we're dealing with values. Now I'll shade that one in. And we're going to have this shadow down here too. That is pretty dark. Now what do I see from this? all of the details in this area here, all of them, are going to have pretty dark gray as their very lightest color. Only in these areas should I ever have white. Just deepen that. So with this value plan, I can now make a portrait where all the details in this area are going to be the right value. Nothing in here, no piece of fur is ever going to be lighter than my second darkest gray. Nothing in this area is ever going to be lighter than my value 4-ish gray. And only this area is allowed to be white. And if I stick with that, the end portrait's going to look good. Here's the actual commission that I did based on this reference photo. And hopefully you can see how I mostly stuck with those value blocks. I hope this was helpful. I'll be posting more from this series so you can see more breakdowns, because this is one of those things where practice makes perfect. Bye.